Welcome to the channel, folks. My name's Shane. In today's video, we're checking out a brand new wireless pack from Saramonic called the Blink900 B2. This is a dual transmitter to single receiver, 2.4 gigahertz wireless pack, and you're listening to the onboard microphone right now plugged in to the Panasonic GH6. Before we get started, a massive thank you to Saramonic for sending this pack out for the review. I really appreciate it. I'll leave some links down below if you want to check it out in your part of the world. Just to let you know, if it says paid promotion somewhere on screen, they've sent this pack out, they've let me hold onto it. They're not paying me in addition to make this video or to say any favorable things about it. They have no input into the video, so all thoughts about it will be my own. I'll give you my thoughts at the end of the video. Everything will be timestamped down below if you want to skip ahead back and forth if you so choose. Let's get into it. One of my favorite things about Saramonic is their charging cases, and this one is no exception. You get to charge the units around 3 times before you need to recharge the case. It has its own USB-C port over here. These just click into place, so this is great for organization. You don't just throw them into your bag, you always have them where you left them. You click them in, and you're good to go. They just stay magnetized in that way, and they won't fall out either, which is fantastic. Now, the good news is if you forget the case for whatever reason, you can also just charge the units individually here thanks to this USB-C port on the side. On the older ones, I think they were USB micro type connectors, so this is much more modern in 2022. Included, we get 2 lavalier microphones that are very different to the old version. Not only is the cable far longer, but they come with these new little pop filters that are removable. These are an interesting design. I think what makes it really interesting for me is it's either this is on or off, or the provided windsock is on or off. Now, I'm not sure why they designed it like this, but it would have been great to be able to put this little foam cover over this, but it just doesn't fit. Let's take a listen to the quality of the lavalier microphone. I've got it tucked under my shirt in this area just to combat some of that wind noise, as I don't have one of these dead cat things available for the lav. It doesn't come with one, so just keep that in mind. If you want to use lavalier microphone outside, you're going to need to hunt down one of these dead cats that can fit it, and if I can find that, I'll link it down in the description below. But this is the kind of audio quality you can expect, and generally speaking, lavalier microphones don't sound as full range or as clear. They have more of a focused kind of mid-frequency sound over that of the omnidirectional built-in microphones on transmitters. Including the box, we also get 2 microphone clips, which make attaching it to your shirt nice and simple. There's also a couple of Velcro strips, so when you're not using your lav microphones, you can wind them up and keep them secured. Saramonic have also included 2 of these dead cat style windsocks for their transmitters, and the great news is once you secure it on there, it's not going anywhere. This connects far more securely than the prior version. When it comes to the cables and connectivity, the Blink900 B2 has more straight out of the box than the Blink500 Pro does. Not only do we get a TRS to TRRS cable, which is designed to go into something like a smartphone if it still supports that jack, we get our standard camera cable, a TRS to TRS. These are tip ring sleeve to tip ring sleeve. We also get a USB-C to USB-A type connector as well. This is designed to charge the case. If you plan on using this pack with an Android phone or tablet, we get a TRS to USB-C type connector. The USB-C type connector goes into your device, and this comes out of the receiver. For folks using Apple iPads or phones, we get a 3.5mm TRS to Lightning adapter cable. So one side again will go from the receiver out, and the other side will go directly into your device. Let's cover some of the specifications and what this means in a real world, because I don't find it very useful when folks just read off a spec sheet. One of the advantages of this pack is it runs on the 2.4 gigahertz band. This means you're getting a digital point-to-point connection, and it's also next to lagless. It also comes with its very own headphone jack. If you don't have a headphone jack on your camera, you can still monitor the audio in real time. This pack can run in true stereo or mono mode just by going through the menus on the receiver. This is great if you've got 1 or 2 people. You can set it up depending on your particular situation. Mono works best when you're on your own like this and you just want to record a down mix where left and right channels are both even. If you're producing an interview, for example, where you want to adjust one person's audio later in post, set it to stereo for the best results. Each of these transmitters has their very own omnidirectional microphone with a frequency response of 20 Hz to 20 kHz. What this allows you to do is essentially clip it on anywhere and get great audio. There's only one small trade-off to an omnidirectional microphone, and that's that it will pick up sound from just about everywhere. But the great thing about these mics is if you're in a situation where you've only got one, you can still do an interview with someone and it will pick up the voices evenly if you hold this between two people, so that's a huge benefit. We get up to 6 hours of runtime on a single charge. That's insane considering these units only weigh 35.3 grams. We get an operational line of sight distance of 200 meters or 600 feet, and we'll test this in more detail, but what I found is this works extremely well as long as there's nothing blocking the signal, including your body. The wind's really kicked up and I'm weighing my tripod down so I don't break another camera. It happened to this one. I had to get the selfie screen replaced, which totally sucked, but we're gonna do the all important distance test. So I'm gonna walk backwards here and see whether or not it lives up to the expectation of 200 meters. Now, I'm not gonna go all the way back to 200 meters, but what I am gonna do on this test, like I always do in the park here, is turn around every so often and see whether or not it cuts out, because as soon as you break line of sight, inherently, even at a short distance, sometimes it can cut out. Now, the Blink500 Pro was one of the best at this test that I had a chance to test alongside the Synco G2A2, I think it was called, and that did extremely well. And being that this is rated up to 200 meters, I would assume it's probably gonna work breaking line of sight up to about here or so. If anything happens, I'll leave annotations on screen. I'll turn around again, keep talking and see if it cuts out. And now we're gonna go back a little bit further again. This is about as far as I like to ever get from the camera at any particular point in time. Even, you know, on my own in the park here, it can just be a little daunting leaving your camera that far away. I always like it within length, but I'm just gonna keep talking and turning around here just to see how well it works. Now, I'm probably back 40 or 50 meters, so this is about a quarter of the distance that the pack is rated at, maybe slightly further. I didn't really count my steps, but I'm just gonna do one last turnaround test here and see how it performs. It'll probably cut out this distance, but if it doesn't, it might be one of the best performing packs. Now, if you're new to the channel, I do this test every time I review wireless products because I think it's really important. Line of sight can sometimes make, you know, or break a pack when it comes to even at a short distance. So we're gonna see how well this works, and I'm gonna walk back to see if there's any handling noise just from my footsteps coming through on the recording, or whether or not it's nice and clear. These onboard microphones from Saramonic generally sound great, so I'm hoping it works really, really well. And how's the GH6 autofocus? I can't see, I've shut the screen just in case. We get a low cut filter, which is essentially a high pass filter. And what this allows you to do is attenuate the low end. So if there's lots of traffic noise, you can set that up so you don't hear as much low end rumble. This can kick in at either 160 Hertz, 120 Hertz, or 80 Hertz. Let's do a quick vlogging test. I've got the GH6 just handheld out like this, and my experience with this is very favorable. We don't get any type of foot noise or low end vibration coming into this full range microphone. And overall, I think it sounds pretty great, but let me know in the comment section what you think of the sound quality. A big advantage to a wireless pack over a shotgun mic is this. I can move the camera wherever I like, and the audio is still going to be very good. I'm going to run you through each of the options when it comes to the receiver and transmitter, starting with the receiver. As you can see, we get a nice big color display with an audio level meter that's kind of peaking, and that's because I'm running two transmitters right on my shirt here just to show you how it all works. On the side of the unit here, we can change and navigate through the menu options. If we hold the set key over here, it brings up all of our options. We can cycle through these just by hitting the plus or minus buttons here. You can reset to default if you so choose, change the language, change the brightness. So if you want to change the brightness down or make it brighter, if it's set lower, you can just use the plus or minus keys here and change it this way. It's pretty intuitive, and there's also an automatic setting, which I'll probably just leave it on from here on out. And once we're done with this, we can hit the plus button, it will set it again, and then we can start navigating through the menu. So with the backlight, we also get a few different options, including on, 60 seconds, 30 seconds, or 10 seconds before the light turns off. And if you want to enable it, you just tap one of the buttons if it does go off, and then you'll be back in business. So to get out of this again, hit the plus button. Then we can change the output mode, which is why I'm wearing two of them right now. So if you want to change this to stereo, we can do that. We'll hit the plus button again. And here's an example of how stereo mode works. So one of the transmitters will be coming out of the left speaker, and the other one will be coming out of the right. If you want to just quickly mute it, you can tap on the mute power button over here, and it will mute the microphone, and then you'll be done. Hit it again, and it comes straight back on. Now, if we hold down the set option on the transmitter, We can change the mic gain, so we can turn this up or down just by doing the same thing. Holding on this button allows you to set the parameter wherever you like. Tap it again, and it's set correctly. We can then check out the version firmware. We can pair it again if we want, or reset to defaults if we want. Change the language and change the brightness. So these are basically the same parameters that you saw on the receiver, with the exception of one, which is this one, low cut. So here it is. This is what I used earlier. You can turn this on just by doing this. Up next, we're going to do a quick comparison between the Blink900, the Blink500, and the Rode Wireless Go 2, starting on the 900. And now I'm over to the Blink500 Pro, the pack I've used more than any of my others. Let us know if you can hear a massive difference between this and the new Blink900. Let's try the Rode. And lastly, over to the Rode Wireless Go 2. Inherently, this has more of a dynamic microphone tonality to it over a condenser full range sound like the Saramonic system. But one of the benefits of it is it generally has a fairly low noise floor, especially when you're talking about any of that noise that you may hear, like hiss or whatever in the background. Let's talk about the pros and the cons and some of my observations after using this. So when it comes to sound quality, it's a great sounding pack. It's every bit as nice as the Blink500 Pro, but it has a slightly nicer top end, which is great. I always found the Blink500 to be a little bit sizzly on the top end. I thought they would be identical, but they're not. There is a difference there. In comparison to the Rode Wireless Go 2, I much prefer the sound of this. It's all subjective stuff. What I can tell you, I do far less post-processing with the Saramonic stuff than I do with the Rode. I love the fact that Saramonic packs so many accessories into their box. This really separates it from a lot of the other systems on the market. They did it with the Blink500 Pro, but it got better with the Blink900 because they've just got everything in there you need to get going. If they had have added just one more thing, they could have added a dead cat style wind filter for the lavalier microphones. Not the end of the world, but yeah, just something to point out. You'll need to get one if you plan on using those Lav Mics. When it came to the distance test, it performed really well. I was quite shocked just how well it worked. When it did fail a couple of times, when I broke line of sight, it recovered nice and fast. So I would have no hesitations recommending this for distance use as long as you've got true line of sight. I have no complaints with the audio quality when it came to the vlogging test, or when I enabled that low cut switch as well. It just took out all of the traffic noise, or at least some of that low end rumble. So it's got lots going for it, lots of great features, and it's very intuitive. I much prefer using the Saramonic stuff over a lot of other brands because of how intuitive that interface is. Overall, I think this is a really powerful unit that you can plug into just about everything, whether that's a mobile phone or tablet, camera, whatever the case may be. It's going to give you good results. But I don't know why the lavalier microphone length is as long as it is. It just doesn't seem to make sense to me. Over 2 meters or around 2 meters is just far too long for a lavalier microphone. That shouldn't be any longer than about 1.25 meters. Tops. That's as long as they ever need to be. And lastly, these transmitters don't record internally like the Rode Wireless Go 2. So if that's important to you and you need that backup and sense of redundancy, then go for the Rode. But what I can tell you is I've never used that once on that microphone system. All of the times I've used it, I've always just used them in standard mode. If you want to check out this pack, I'll link it down below. Thanks to Saramonic for sending it out. I appreciate it. See you on the next video. See ya.